The people that we're going to be talking to have been pushed to their limits. So I just want to start by saying how proud I am of all of you on this roundtable, for all the essential workers who are literally carrying our nation on their backs through this crisis. You know, our country is too often taken you for granted, and the work you've done for granted. When's the last time someone walked out and thanked you for what you do? And you're going, you guys are moving really fast, and you have to. But, it's time we as a nation thought about how much we depend on our grocery store clerks, our bus drivers, our transit workers. These are the folks who keep the food supply going and secure. These are the custodial and cleaning crews that make things are safe and clean. And so many more people out there that we never pay attention to. When was the last time people took the time to look you in the eye and say, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. But we're seeing it clearly now. We're seeing it as clear as day. We're lost without you. And this is not an exaggeration. We're lost without all of you. All across the nation. It's so often our lowest paid workers who have to step up during this crisis and crisis like this. You're putting yourselves in the line every single day, and you're sacrificing so much under dire circumstances to do your job, and you're doing it for not just yourself, for all of us. And you're essential to our society in times of crisis and beyond, and you deserve not just our thanks, but our respect. You deserve a safe workplace and fair pay. You deserve personal protective equipment, including gloves and masks that enables you to do your job as safely as possible. You deserve to have the appropriate space between you and your coworkers and the ability to wash your hands frequently. We're seeing during this crisis just why it is so important for American workers to belong to unions, so that they have someone to fight for them and with them, putting your interest first, standing up for workplace safety and the needs of every business to make sure that workers are protected. You are as hard as you're working for us. The government that not only sets but enforces worker safety standards. A government that ensures everyone has the option of paid sick leave. A government that provides universal access to affordable, high-quality health care, which this guy's not doing at all. Not one that tries to just rip your health protections away, like he's trying to do now by getting rid of Obamacare for folks who need it now more than ever. You deserve premium pay, standing on the front lines of this crisis, enabling our society to keep running, even as so many of you stay home and practice social distancing to break the infectious curve of the virus. These people have to go out and provide your needs for you. Congress should pass the Senate Democrats have a proposal for $25,000 in premium pay for frontline workers. I don't mean pay in lieu of other basic benefits. I mean a premium pay on top of the inherent rights that all workers deserve, because of what being at work right now is costing you personally. I know you've lost friends and coworkers, loved ones. I know you're worried about your own health. I know you're worried about your families when you go home and what you might bring home, but also what will happen if you're not able to work. My heart goes out to every one of you every individual who is suffering because of this virus, the families who are grieving because they lost someone, folks like all of you who are working harder than ever, and the workers who have had their hours slashed and lost their jobs entirely and don't know how long they can make ends meet. We're being tested like we've never been tested before as a country. And I know that we'll come through this. The American people have never, ever, ever let their country down. And ordinary people like the neighborhoods I come from, when given an opportunity, they're capable of accomplishing anything, extraordinary things. As I've been saying throughout this whole period, we just don't pay enough attention. But in the face of this COVID-19, we're seeing the incredible American grit and spirit shine through. And when we get through this crisis, we're going to have an enormous amount of work to do. not just to rebuild our country, but to transform it, to make the investments we need to make we needed to make for so long for our workers, to create a more just and more fair economy, where everyone has the opportunity to build a middle-class life for their families, to make sure everyone in this country earns a living wage and is treated with dignity and respect they deserve. My dad used to say, everybody, Joey, everybody is entitled to be treated with dignity. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I'm looking forward to our discussions. And so let me get to your questions, and I hope I can ask you some questions as well going down the line here.
I really appreciate that, Vice President. And we're going to get right into the questions, but I just need to acknowledge the fact of your opening it really speaks, again, it speaks to who you are and why you're doing what you do. And with that being said, we're going to lead to our the first person that we have, and her name is Safa. Safa is a meat processing worker, and she's from Harrisville, Pennsylvania. She was born and raised in Egypt and immigrated here to the United States 16 years ago. And Safa, the floor is yours for your story and your question to the Vice President.
So, good afternoon. My name is Safa Azedoui. I'm from Middle East, Egypt. Been here in the United States for almost 16 years. I'm from Hatfield, BA. I work on Suderton, BA. It's beef plain for almost 10 years. I represent the UFCW 1776 Keystone. I've been a union steward for almost 6 years. I'm happy to be with them. I'm married. I have 1 child. So my question is, we lost a co-worker at my plant because there is no regulation to protect the meat chain employer. We can work safely and get the people meat that they need to eat. So what would you do to protect a worker like my friend who just did?
Well, first of all, Safa, thank you. And I feel so badly that you lost a friend. It wasn't necessary. And thank you. By the way, I've been to Egypt a number of times. And you know why we're such a great country here in the United States? Because of immigrants like you who've come here from every part of the world. No, I'm not being solicitous. I'm being absolutely serious. You know, and my heart goes out to your former colleague, their family, and every one of you with the courage to keep going to work every day to feed and provide the American people. It's hard enough in a meatpacking plant to begin with. It's hard enough under normal circumstances. And you shouldn't have to do a job without protection, period. First, I think it's immoral. In the United States of America, no one should lie awake at night wondering if they'll make it home from work safely the next day, or if they'll bring home the virus for their own family because they got sick. It's unconscionable that this administration has failed to enforce the health and safety standards for workers like you all over America. Second point I'd make, it's illogical. It makes no sense not to protect you and your co-workers, even the people who didn't even know what you did before, even the people who never even think about where their food comes from or their meat or how it works, even those folks who live in ivory towers. If you get sick and the system breaks down, where are they going to get their food? How will supplies get around? And they're just beginning to realize that. Now, it's in the whole nation's direct interest to keep you healthy and safe. Back during the H1N1 epidemic, we had OSHA, occupational safety operation that's supposed to be available all across these workplaces, and the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. We had them and our administration issue detailed guidelines for how employers should protect their workers. Then OSHA's enforced the law based on those guidelines. But Trump's Labor Department has completely failed to protect workers during this pandemic. I know unions and worker advocates aren't happy with how vague the OSHA standard is. We had trouble getting it even done, and until this week, there wasn't even enforcing these guidelines. Still today, OSHA's not specifying which rules employees must follow or how to keep their workers safe and healthy. Number one, OSHA should immediately enforce current guidelines across all employers with significant risk of exposure, like grocery store workers, meat processing plants, to make sure every employer has a clear plan to keep workers safe from the COVID virus and is acting that way. The second thing is this federal agency, OSHA, should immediately increase the number of investigators it has to go into these workplaces and look and see whether or not the standards are being kept. Enforce the law. They don't have enough people even checking. And I've been calling for that throughout since I decided to run. OSHA should immediately release and enforce more specific, quote, emergency temporary standards that requires employers to guard against infectious diseases like COVID-19. It's all within their capacity to do it. So that is the first most important thing we should be doing, because you should not have to go into work tomorrow or whenever you go back and have to worry whether or not you're standing too close to someone, whether or not there's no protective mask you have, whether or not the whole range of things. The employer should be forced, as a matter of law, to provide for your protection. If that means slowing down the line, it means slowing down the line. If that means separating people further apart, putting plastic shields between them, that's what it requires. Your health is critical. Because again, it's not just morally right thing to do. If something happens to your team, then guess what happens? There is no food. There is no meat. Just like if we don't protect our nurses, there's no one to take care of us. You're critical in the chain, and we got to get about doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President, and thank you so much, Safa.